5 Dark Truths of Caribbean Slavery. Number 5. Barbados, the Sugar Empire. Barbados was Britain's first sugar gold mine in the Caribbean. By the 1640s, enslaved Africans were pouring in, ripped from their homes to power a brutal industry. Sugar meant wealth, and that wealth was built on blood. Men, women, and children labored under blistering heat, cutting cane and boiling it in scalding, dangerous mills. They were beaten, starved, bought, and sold like livestock. But they fought back. With secret languages, stolen moments of song, and uprisings that terrified slave owners. Freedom came in name in 1834, but not in truth. A so-called apprenticeship system kept many in chains until 1838. Barbados never forgot. Today, its people carry the strength of those who survived. Through music, memory, and pride, they honor their ancestors and the fight that never truly ended. Want to know what happened after 1838? Check the comments for the full timeline. Number 4. Trinidad's Enslaved, Cocoa and Pitch Lake Stories. After the British took control of Trinidad in 1797, something dark began to unfold. Thousands of Africans were enslaved, not just to pick cocoa, but to dig from the earth itself. In sweltering heat, they cleared thick forests, planted endless cocoa trees, and toiled at the Pitch Lake in La Brea, one of the largest natural asphalt lakes in the world. Their hands extracted black pitch that built roads in Europe, while their lives were stripped of freedom. Whipped, starved, silenced, these men, women, and children weren't just laborers, they were treated like tools. Cocoa was sweet for the colonizers, but for the enslaved, it tasted of pain. Even after slavery officially ended in 1834, freedom was delayed, replaced by a cruel apprenticeship system that lasted another 4 years. Only in 1838 were they finally free, but the land they built, the wealth they made, it was never theirs. The scars of cocoa and pitch still run deep in Trinidad's soil, and its history. Number 3. The Spice Trade, Enslaved Africans' Legacy. They came in chains. Enslaved Africans torn from their homelands and shipped to the Caribbean starting in the early 1600s, not by pirates, not by smugglers, but by the ships of empires, British, French, Dutch, and Spanish, not for freedom, not for family, but to harvest spices, nutmeg, cinnamon, cloves, luxuries in Europe built on suffering in the islands. Places like Jamaica, Grenada, and St. Lucia became plantations of pain. Men, women, and children were forced to work brutal hours under blistering heat. Their bodies were beaten, their labor was stolen, their lives controlled. For over 200 years, slavery fueled the spice trade. Some rebelled, some sued for freedom, and some just survived. Britain abolished slavery in 1833, France followed in 1848, but the damage was done. Families broken, cultures scarred, legacies rewritten in blood and resilience. Out of that pain, a new culture was born. One that sings, dances, and remembers. The Caribbean didn't just grow spices, it grew strength. Check the comments to see what happened next. Number 2. The Enslaved Africans of the Bahamas. They were stolen from Africa and shipped across the Atlantic, into a life of brutality. Beginning in the 1600s, the British brought enslaved Africans to the Bahamas, not as people, but as property. They were forced to clear land, grow tobacco and cotton, and later, extract salt under a blistering sun. They were beaten, branded, and stripped of their names, identities, and freedom. Children were born into chains, families were sold and scattered, but the human spirit refused to stay silent. There were uprisings, acts of rebellion, petitions written in secret and passed hand to hand. Freedom didn't come easily, but it came. In 1834, the Slavery Abolition Act took effect across the British Caribbean. On August 1st, enslaved Bahamians were declared free, but freedom was only the beginning. The scars of slavery remained in broken families, in poverty passed down, in a society still rebuilding. The chains were gone, but the echoes of that system would haunt the Bahamas for generations. The story doesn't end here, it's still being written. Share this to keep their memory alive. Number 1. Shadows of History, Slavery in Belize. In the early 1700s, British settlers arrived in what's now Belize, then called British Honduras, and brought enslaved Africans with them. But these people weren't forced into cotton fields, they were dragged into dense, dangerous forests. There, in suffocating heat, they cut and hauled massive mahogany and logwood trees. The work was brutal: snakes, jaguars, insects, and white overseers with whips. Rest was rare. Safety didn't exist. These men, women, and children were not seen as human, but as tools to build an empire of timber. Their labor made fortunes for the British, while they lived and died in chains. Still, they held on to what they could: their languages, their music, their spirit. Even in bondage, they planted the seeds of culture that would grow into Belizean identity. In 1838, slavery was abolished, but the damage didn't vanish. The scars remained in names, in stories, in the bloodlines of a nation that never chose its chains.